Ever wished your computer could, like, whip up life-saving drugs? Or invent totally new materials? Or crack crazy tough codes in just seconds?
Sounds like science fiction, right?
It kind of does.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the power of quantum computing. And let me tell you, the race is on to make it real.
It really is mind-blowing. I mean, you see quantum computing getting tangled up with, like, the whole AI boom, global tech competition, even the new space race. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. We've got a whole bunch of reports and interviews from Bloomberg Technology, all from March 4th, 2025.
Not just any Tuesday, though, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
The markets were kind of freaking out that day, weren't they? Which I think really sets the stage for this deep dive.
For sure. It's super interesting to see how these cutting-edge technologies are playing out when, the economy and geopolitics are so uncertain.
Totally. So first up, the AI boom, which, it's not all sunshine and roses, is it? NVIDIA, the big name in AI hardware, took a pretty big hit on the stock market.
Yeah. There are a couple of things going on there. One is the whole worry about export restrictions on AI chips, because of political tensions, especially with China.
Right.
These chips are like super powerful. They're essential for anyone who wants to develop advanced AI. So if you restrict access, it could really shake things up.
Yeah, it'd be a big deal.
And then on top of that, there's this like underlying fear that demand for AI applications might slow down.
You mean, are people starting to realize that AI isn't like a magic wand that'll fix everything?
Maybe. But honestly, I think it's more like we're still in the early stages of AI adoption. Think about the internet back in the 90s, Did anyone really get how much it was going to change our lives?
Not really, no.
Exactly. AI is on a similar path. I mean, its true impact will unfold over years, not months, right?
That's a really good point. Okay, but even with all that optimism, there's a real bottleneck right now, isn't there?
Yeah.
There just aren't enough of those superpowered chips to go around.
It's a total supply crunch, and it's only getting worse because you've got these giants like Microsoft and Meta pouring billions into building AI infrastructure. They're like kids in a candy store snatching up these chips as fast as they can.
Wow. And here's where it gets even crazier. Remember that new AI model, DeepSeek? It's so complex and it needs so much computing power that it's actually making the chip shortage even worse.
Oh, yeah, DeepSeek. It's a fascinating feedback loop, right? AI is driving demand for more powerful chips, but then creating even more advanced AI models like DeepSeek just throws like a whole ton more fuel on the fire.
So, like, for someone listening who's trying to make sense of the AI landscape, what's the key takeaway here?
Well, the AI boom is definitely here to stay, no doubt about that. But there are going to be some growing pains along the way. And the big question for you, for anyone listening, is how will this impact your industry? Will AI become like a competitive edge or even a necessity? It's something to think about for sure.
So AI is like totally shaking up the software world. But what about the hardware side of things?
Yeah.
That's where quantum computing comes in, right? It could totally rewrite the rules.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we're already seeing the shifts start to happen. Rigetti Computing,
Yeah.
that quantum computing startup, they just partnered with Quanta Computer to build this like massive $500 million facility. That's a serious investment. It really shows how much confidence is growing in this field.
That's huge. And Rigetti's CEO, he seems pretty confident too, saying that quantum computers will be in data centers within 5 years, offering what he calls a, quote, practical advantage for tackling those like super complex problems.
Exactly. And what's so exciting is that we're moving beyond just like the theoretical potential, right, into actual real world applications. Quantum computing has been this really cool idea for decades, but the technology is finally getting mature enough to start, actually delivering on its promise.
Okay, I have to admit, the whole quantum computing thing still feels a little bit like science fiction to me. Can you break it down, like, for those of us who don't have a PhD in physics?
Sure. So think of it this way. A regular computer uses bits, which are kind of like tiny switches that can be either on or off, representing a 1 or a 0.
Okay.
But a quantum computer, it uses qubits. And these qubits, they can be both 1 and 0 at the same time.
Whoa.
It's called quantum superposition. And this lets them perform like tons of calculations at the same time simultaneously.
Okay, my brain is definitely doing some gymnastics here, but I think I'm kind of getting it. More power, more possibilities. But how does all this mind-bending tech connect to something as vast as the new space race? We're going from like the microscopic world of quantum mechanics to the universe.
That's a really great observation, actually. And you're right, there is a link. The Bloomberg reports also covered some really interesting NASA missions that launched this week. One is a lunar landing attempt by Firefly Aerospace.
Oh.
They're carrying a bunch of scientific instruments to study the moon's surface.
It's pretty incredible that private companies like Firefly are such big players in space exploration these days. I remember when it was all about, government agencies like NASA.
That's a super important point. The space race is totally different now. It's not just two superpowers fighting to be on top. It's this complex mix of private companies, international collaborations, and even like commercial interests, all contributing to space exploration.
Wow, that's really interesting. And what about that other NASA mission? The one with the new space telescope launching on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. What's that one all about?
So that telescope, its mission is to create the most detailed 3D map of water and ice in space.
Why is that so important? It sounds a little specific.
It's actually crucial for understanding how stars and planets form, and it could even help us in the search for alien life.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Water is essential for life as we know it. So mapping where it is throughout the universe, it's a fundamental part of, astrobiology.
So we're saying that quantum computers could help us find aliens. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Just imagine using quantum computers to simulate all these complex astrophysical phenomena, or design revolutionary new propulsion systems, or even crack the mysteries of dark matter and dark energy. It's mind-boggling.
We've covered a lot of ground here, haven't we? From like AI anxieties on Wall Street to the promise of quantum computing and the latest stuff happening in the new space race. It really does feel like we're in the middle of a technological revolution, unlike anything we've ever seen before.
And it's a revolution with really big implications for all of us, for sure. As we go deeper into the quantum computing era, we really need to think about the potential consequences of these incredibly powerful technologies.
That's a pretty sobering thought. It's not just about the scientific breakthroughs, right? It's about how these technologies are going to shape society, the economy, even how we understand the universe.
Absolutely. The choices we make today will determine whether we use these technologies to solve, humanity's biggest challenges, or whether they just end up making existing inequalities worse. It's a conversation we need to be having right now before it's too late.
It feels like we're at a crossroads, doesn't it? These technologies could create a brighter future, but they also come with some big risks.
Absolutely. We need to be thinking critically about the ethical implications of AI development, the regulations around quantum computing, and, the impact all these advancements will have on society. We can't afford to just ignore the potential consequences.
We've only just started to explore these really complex topics today, but hopefully this deep dive has given everyone some valuable insights and stuff to think about.
Yeah. What questions have come up for you? What areas would you like to learn more about?
Right.
Remember, knowledge is power. The more we know, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this rapidly changing world and create the future we want to see.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, isn't it? All this stuff about AI anxieties on Wall Street, and then the potential of quantum computing and the whole evolving space race. I mean, it feels like we're living in a science fiction movie or something.
And it's a movie that's still being written,
Yeah.
Remember those NASA missions we talked about? The one with Firefly Aerospace trying to land on the moon? And that super powerful new space telescope.
Yeah.
I mean, they really show that we're in a whole new era of space exploration, an era that's being driven by both public and private players.
It's definitely a far cry from, back in the day when it was only government agencies like NASA doing all the space exploration stuff. Now you've got private companies like SpaceX launching rockets, and even a quantum computing startup partnering with a huge tech company to build this massive facility.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see science, technology, and just pure ambition all coming together like this. And it's not just about, reaching for the stars either. I mean, these advancements have the potential to really transform life here on Earth, like revolutionizing medicine and material science, and maybe even helping us tackle climate change and global energy challenges.
But like you were saying earlier, there's kind of a flip side to all this progress, right? These technologies are really powerful, but they could also be misused or lead to consequences we don't even anticipate.
Exactly. That's a really, really important point. Just because we can develop a technology doesn't necessarily mean we should, I mean, we really need to be thoughtful about the ethical implications of AI and what's going to happen with jobs as automation advances and the whole issue of too much power ending up in the hands of just a few people or companies.
Makes you wonder, are we Are we really ready for all these changes that are coming? Are we even having the right conversations about how to use these technologies for good and avoid the potential risks?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's a question that all of us need to be thinking about, not just, scientists and politicians. The future isn't like set in stone. It's going to be shaped by the choices we make right now.
So where do we go from here? What can we do, like, as individuals to make sure that these technologies are used responsibly and for the benefit of everyone?
Well, first of all, stay informed. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to challenge assumptions and talk to people about the ethical implications of these technologies, online, in your community, wherever, and support organizations that are promoting responsible innovation and trying to make sure everyone benefits from these advancements.
That's a really powerful message. It's easy to feel kind of overwhelmed by how fast things are changing,
Yeah.
but we all have a part to play in shaping the future.
I totally agree. The future isn't something that just happens to us, It's
Yeah.
something we create together. And the more informed we are and the more we get involved, the better prepared we'll be to deal with whatever challenges come up and take advantage of the opportunities that come along.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive today. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling excited about the future, but also a little bit apprehensive. It's definitely a future full of possibilities, but also potential pitfalls. And the choices we make today are going to determine which path we take. Thanks for joining us on this journey. And remember, the conversation doesn't stop here. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep imagining the kind of future you want to create.